Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavai Tejasvina Vaditamastu Mavidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May the Divine Being look over us lovingly as a mother and father. May the Divine Being support and nourish us as a mother and father. May we have the strength and skill to study together the art of spirituality. May no misunderstandings arise amongst us. Om, peace, peace. Peace be unto us and to all beloved beings everywhere. So we're well along in the book on Sri Sarada Devi's life, Sri Sarada Devi, Her Divine Play, by Swami Chaitananda. We're up nearly to page 500, looks like.
Actually, we are on 496, Brother Shankara.
Yeah,
496.
That's what I said, nearly up to 500.
Oh, yeah.
So
I'm sorry.
Before we begin, is there anything that anyone would like to add to our discussion from their own experience or wisdom, or any question that you'd like to ask about the mother and what we've studied so far? All right. True religion is realization of God. It is not in external religious marks or in scriptural. It is not in external religious marks or in scriptural scholarship. Swami Nikhilananda, one of Holy Mother's disciples, wrote, quote, "Holy Mother did not care much for book learning if it did not lead to faith in God and love for Him. Does one get faith," she asked, "by the mere study of books? Too much reading creates confusion." She did not, good God Almighty, she did not argue or reason, though she stressed the value of discrimination between the real and unreal, between God and the world. Whatever she taught came from her heart and her inner experience. Once, asked for a proof of God's existence, she said, "Why argue about something which you clearly see to exist?" And I just think that's, it's absolutely beyond precious. It's, why argue about something which you clearly see to exist? And that is what happens if you do spiritual practices, particularly concentration, contemplation, prayer, concentration, and meditation. The truth becomes self-evident, not all at once, slowly and slowly, as Swami Sridharananda says, but nevertheless, it becomes self-evident. So we uncover it by dispelling that which covers it, which is this discrimination between the real and the unreal, which, as it was pointed out, is not a reasoning. It's simply looking clearly, and this is why the question that is suggested from here, if you want to understand discrimination in its most fundamental aspect, is what deserves my attention? And if we answer that question and from a spiritual perspective, we'll lead ourselves in the right direction. We won't have to say what's real, what's unreal. All we just say is what deserves my attention. Holy Mother said to a devotee, give up dry discussion, this hodgepodge of philosophy. Who has been able to know God by reasoning? Ramakrishna and Holy Mother were very much against a guru cult, which develops narrowness, bigotry, quarreling, fanaticism, and fights. Once Swami Arupananda said to Holy Mother, those who are obtaining your blessings are fortunate indeed. What will happen to people in the future? Now listen up. I mean, this is included by Swami Chaitanananda exactly for us. The question asked by a Swami. Oh, those who are obtaining your blessings are fortunate indeed. What will happen to people in the future? And this is Mother's response. What do you mean? The mother asked with great surprise. Why will they not be? Why will they not succeed? Why will they too not succeed? God exists everywhere and at all times. Are people not realizing God in other countries? On another occasion, she said, holy men are born on earth to show people the way to God. They teach differently. There are many faiths leading to the same goal. And of course, this is one of the deeply transformative message of Sri Ramakrishna, is that faiths of different kinds. Of course, it's in the Gita. You find it in the Gita as well, but it's not quite so explicitly said as this. Holy men are born on earth to show people the way to God. They teach differently. There are many paths leading to the same goal. Therefore, the teachings of all the saints are true. There are innumerable stories and eyewitness accounts of the mother as a guru. However, only some important ones are recorded in this chapter. Holy Mother was an incarnation of the Divine Mother, so she could liberate souls by cutting the cord of Maya. Blessed are they who received initiation from her. Fortunately, Holy Mother's grace was not limited to those few who went to her. Her grace and unconditional love continue to flow through millions of people all over the world who come in contact with her through her divine life, story, teachings. Her divine life story and teachings. So this has been stressed many times as we've gone through this. That wasn't just there and then. It is right now. And it is for us as we wish to reach out for it. It is an invitation for us to accept. There's no compulsion in the mother. The loving mother will not make you do anything. Your karma may force you to do things, but the mother That is not the mother acting. That is your sense of still being an individual human being, and the karma that was generated is now having its effect on you, and that may compel you to do or not do some things. But mother never. Her love for us, as was said, is unconditional and is an open invitation. So is there anything to add from your own wisdom or from your experience, or anything for you to ask for clarification?
Definitely, Brother Shankara. There are many paths leading to the same goal. I truly believe in that. I was raised that way from my elders. They always said, no matter which religion it is, God is one, divine is one. So I can see now it's proven so much.
Excellent.
Yes. Thank you so much. This is wonderful.
Thank you for sharing that, Jaime. Anyone else? Anything at all? Okay.
Shankaraji,
Yes, Balakrishna.
I just wanted to, I did not understand why a devotee asks, show me the proof of God's existence. Isn't that sentiency is not enough as proof of God?
Say it again, please, Balakrishna. What is
I
the
said,
question?
being sentient, the human being who is sentient, isn't that good enough to show that God exists?
Well, some very intelligent human beings who are sentient, clearly very sentient, very intelligent. They make great contributions, primarily to science, some in the arts, don't have any seeming connection with the divine presence at all, and don't recognize it in themselves or in universe. They have a different explanation for how universe arose and is unfolding. So, though it may seem self-evident to you because of your spiritual practices, it is not necessarily self-evident to everyone. And it's not up to us to judge them in any way.
No, I'm not judging or anything. This is for my clarification. Because to be sentient, you have to have that consciousness, even though it is reflecting into the mind. But, if you don't have that consciousness, we are nobody.
These people that were spoken of earlier, Balakrishna, believe that consciousness arises from matter, that consciousness arises from the fact that we have a mind, not that the mind is a creation of the consciousness. In the evening prayer, it said, speech cannot hold thee, nor mind, that is pure consciousness, or Atman, or Brahman. Speech cannot hold thee nor mind, yet without thee we think not nor speak. That's our understanding. The idea of the scientist, and there are still many, even those who are investigating those things that to us fill us with awe of the divine presence, such as cosmology and astrophysics, and all these things. Their attitude is that this is all a very natural unfolding of the natural laws of the universe, and does not bespeak any creator or any consciousness or intelligence other than our own. So I didn't think that you were judging them, Balakrishna, and I'm sorry I spoke clumsy. It's just I just was sounding the warning that those people, though they are so different from us in their understanding and approach to this, it's not a question of us being right and them being wrong. It's just a question of our intentions, our experience, and our desire. They have different understanding, experience, and desires. So thank you for bringing that up. That is an important distinction. Anything else from anyone? Okay. Chapter 27, Ministry through Correspondence. O Mother Narayani, you are Saraswati, our intelligence. You are the supreme goddess, endowed with sattva, rajas, and tamas. Be propitious to us, O Mother, we bow to you. So I'm going to read that again. This is from the Chandi, and it is Brahma speaking to his mother. O Mother Narayani, you are Saraswati, our intelligence. You are the supreme goddess, endowed with sattva, rajas, and tamas. Be propitious unto us, O Mother. We bow to you. It's part of that beautiful hymn in chapter 1 of the Chandi, where Brahma is addressing his mother. And asking her on behalf of the Devas, asking her for her help in destroying Madhu and Kaitaba, two demonic forces. As the human face is reflected on a mirror, so the human mind is manifested through letters. Isn't that interesting? And it is absolutely the case. This is what writing did. It gave us the ability to reflect ourselves through writing. So I'm going to read that again. As the human face is reflected on a mirror, so the human mind is manifested through letters. When we read someone's letters, we get some glimpses of that person's mind. Goethe said, letters are among the most significant memorial. Letters are among the most significant memorial a person can leave behind them. In the old days, when there were no telephone or internet, people who lived some distance away from each other communicated through letters. St. Paul conducted part of his spiritual ministry through correspondence. His letters to the Romans, Corinthians, Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians, Thessalonians, and others. These are books in the New Testament. St. Paul's correspondence with these various Christian communities. So St. Paul's letters to the Roman community, the Corinthian community, the Galatian community, and so on. Each of these are communities of Christians for which he took responsibility. As a matter of fact, Christ made him responsible. He created the St. Paul from Saul of Tarsus. He literally created him in a transformative experience that Saul of Tarsus had. So then he became Paul. St. Paul. So St. Paul's letters to these various communities carried the message of Christ and still inspire millions of Christians. And it's worth our time, any of us, to read these things because they are very inspiring. Swami Vivekananda also inspired people through his immortal letters. Although Ramakrishna and Holy Mother did not have much formal education, they were endowed with communication skills which are indispensable for disseminating ideas. Ramakrishna went to the Lahas primary school in Kamarpukur for a brief period and learned to read and write. He could sign his name, and he also copied some scriptures, which are now preserved in the archives of Belrumat. That's the first time I think I remember reading that. I'm sure I read it before, knew it before, but I didn't recall it at all. That Sri Ramakrishna copied some scriptures, which are now preserved in the archives of Belrumat. On March 1883, he said to M, "During my childhood, I could paint well, but arithmetic made my head spin. I couldn't learn simple arithmetic." Now, we can say of Sri Ramakrishna that he was very self-determined. When he says this, it made his head spin and he couldn't learn this, he's telling us the absolute truth. It isn't as if he's posturing. The master did not care for breadwinning education, so he eventually became a dropout. He actually told that to his brother. His brother wanted him to get more education so that he could do more things to earn money for the family. And Sri Ramakrishna, as I said, Sri Ramakrishna was very self-determined. He said, "I do not want a bread-winning education. I want to know that by which all else is known," which of course is the that is, in his case, was the Divine Mother in the form of Kali, who told him, as by his own representation, by his own telling of the story, she told him everything that was in all of the scriptures. There is no record that Ramakrishna wrote any letters to anyone or dictated letters. But on 29 August 1885, the master received a letter from Purna Chandra Ghosh in which Purna had written, "I'm feeling extremely happy. Now and then I cannot sleep at night for joy." After hearing this letter, the master said, "I feel thrilled to hear this. Even later on, he will be able to keep this bliss. Let me see his letter." He pressed the letter in the palm of his hand and said, "Generally, I cannot touch letters, but this is a good letter." Is it not a great fortune for a devotee that an avatar was thinking of his welfare? Oh, yes. But once again, let's not think that was just something that happened there then. We can, by our persistent and sincere devotions, prayers, bring ourselves to the attention, so to speak, write our letter to Sri Ramakrishna or Holy Mother. Holy Mother learned how to read and write, but according to Yoganma, she did not know how to count money. So arithmetic also was not her strong suit. So she knew how to read and write, but she did not know how to count money. Holy Mother now and then received some money, which the devotees sent to her through a money order or gave to her as a gift. She would touch the money to her forehead, as money represents the Divine Mother, Lakshmi. Now let me repeat that. She would touch the money to her forehead, as money represents the Divine Mother, Lakshmi, and then put it in a box. Most often, when she was in Jairambati, she would hand it to someone else and say, put it in the box. Maybe even in Udbodhan, but I remember that kind of conversation in Jairambati. Anyway, the money was put in a box, and she wouldn't know how much it was. She recognized a 10 rupee note. We know that 10 rupee note because she extracted one from the box and gave it to the Sevashrama, the hospital clinic that was started by the monks in Benares, Varanasi. And you can still see it. It is framed and on the wall in that. It's a wonder it hasn't been stolen, but nevertheless, there it is. So mother would simply take any money that came to her in a money order or a note or any coins, touch them to her forehead, and then put them in the box. Later, she would give it to her disciples to buy groceries and other things. One day in Udbodhan house, Swami Arupananda said to Holy Mother, Mother, I sometimes see you reading the Ramayana. When did you learn to read? The mother replied that she had learned the alphabet when she was a little girl from her brother Prasanna and cousin Ramnath. She and Ramakrishna's niece, Lakshmi, later learned part one, the Bengali primer at Kamarpukur. But Hridoy took mother's book away because he did not believe girls should be educated. Hridoy could be such an annoying fellow. But you'll notice that mother didn't fight with him about it. Later at Dakshineshwar, the master engaged a boy named Sharat. What is
Samantha?
A boy named Sharat Samantha to teach her the primer part 2. Then in 1885, when the master left for Shyampukur to be treated for cancer, a girl from Baba Mukherjee's family in Dakshineshwar taught Holy Mother to read fluently the Ramayana and other holy books. See chapter 2 for more details on the mother's education. That's a long time back, but we did read it and discuss it at the time. Ramakrishna once said about Holy Mother, she is Sarada, Saraswati. She has come to give knowledge. Saraswati is the goddess of learning. By her will, the mother received whatever education she needed to conduct her spiritual ministry. Now, I'd just like to remark, and I'd like to see if there's any discussion about this. If you look at the world that the mother was born into in the mid-19th century, the 1860s or 50s, and the world that existed just 100 years later, in 1950s. There was simply an explosion of knowledge in the world, an explosion. Mother lived until 1920. She actually was present. Not that she needs to be physically present to express this spiritual energy, but she was actually physically with us, inspiring certain people to their learning and their expression of knowledge. And just look at all of the things that Saraswati is associated with: music, writing, science, all things having to do with knowledge and education. Just an explosion from the 1850s to the 1950s. And then from the 1950s until now, it's just been exponential. It's beyond astounding. So is there anything that anyone would like to add or ask about this particular aspect of Mother as Saraswati? Okay. As Holy Mother had many disciples and devotees in various parts of India and abroad, she often received letters from them asking for help with their problems or asking questions about spiritual practices. All these she answered. When the disciples' letters were read to her, she would dictate her answers, which were written down by some of her disciples, including Swami Arupananda, Swami Parameshwarananda, Brahmachari Gopesh, Brahmachari Bharada, Brahmachari Gyanananda, Brahmachari Henindra,
Hemendra.
and Saramala Sen. Sri Ram,
Shivaram.
Ramakrishna's nephews. Her nieces Radu, Maku, and Nalini also sometimes took dictation from her. Even her mailman, Yogendra, wrote down letters for her. Isn't that amazing? Yogendra was, I think, her mailman in Jairambati. I think we remember some little incidents about that some time back in the book. Even her mailman, Yogendra, wrote down letters for her. In the early days, there were not many educated people in Jairambati. When Yogendra, the mailman, brought a letter to her, she asked him to read it to her. She then dictated an answer to him, and he mailed it for her. Of course, she gave him refreshments in appreciation. What a fortunate mailman, huh? In May 2006, the Ramakrishna Mission Institute of Culture published a Bengali book entitled Mayer Chiti?
Yes.
Holy Mother's Letters. Oh, Mother's Letters, which contains 36 letters. This book includes 108 letters that were originally published in Sri Mayer, whatever that is, by the Udbodhan office in Calcutta. As the present book, the one we're reading, is a biography of Holy Mother and not a collection of her letters, we will only look at some letters that illustrate various facts of her life. In this chapter, we shall first reproduce the available letters of the mother that were written in English. Then we shall include translations of some important letters originally written in Bengali. And the Swami says, the translations are my own, except as indicated. Finally, we shall translate a few letters written by the mother's disciples. For uniformity and style, we have taken some liberty regarding her spelling, regarding the spelling and punctuation in these letters. These letters are replete with spiritual instructions, historical facts, and incidents concerning the Ramakrishna order. Above all, they shed light on Holy Mother's life. During her lifetime, she traveled between Calcutta and Jairambati many times. She went on pilgrimage in various parts of India, and she was extremely busy serving and initiating disciples in Jairambati and Calcutta and on the roads in between from time to even railway stations, as we remember that story of the porter who suddenly rushed up to her saying, "There you are, I've been waiting for you. Why have you kept me waiting so long?" And so she asked him just to bring a flower that was growing by the edge of the train station platform. And she initiated him then and there. Sometimes she suffered from malaria and rheumatism. She suffered from the rheumatism pretty much constantly, particularly in her knees. Malaria from time to time. Sometimes she suffered from malaria and rheumatism. It is amazing how she maintained contact with the disciples of the Master and also with her own disciples, despite her lack of a modern education and her rural upbringing. She was always dignified in her manners. Whenever anybody sent money or a gift to her, she always acknowledged it and sent her blessings. So before we go into the letters, yeah, it's just 8:38, so we have time. Is there anything at all that anybody would like to comment or ask? Because once we go into the letters, we probably won't stop much. And by the way, this is the last class on this book until September. So as of August 1st, we will be inactive here. There won't be any classes or talks. And so anything you want to add or ask, you better do it now, otherwise you'll have to wait a month. Okay. Letters to Western devotees. Holy Mother's letters to her Western devotees demonstrate her affection for them and her keen interest, her deep interest in the Vedanta work in the West. Written on 4 April 1900 in Jairambati to Sister Nivedita in the West. So the 4th of April 1900. May this letter, so this is the mother now writing or dictating. May this letter carry all blessings. My dear love to you, baby daughter Nivedita. I am so glad to learn that you have prayed to the Lord for my eternal peace. You are a manifestation of the ever blissful Mother. I look at your photograph, which is with me even which is with me every now and then. I look at your photograph, which is with me every now and then, and it seems as if you are present with me. I long for the day and the year when you shall return. May the prayers you have uttered for me from the heart of your pure virgin soul be answered. I am well and happy. I always pray to the Lord to help you in your effects, in your efforts, and to keep you strong and happy. So I am well and happy. I always pray to the Lord to help you in your efforts and to keep you strong and happy. I pray too for your quick return. May He fulfill your desires about the women's home in India, and may the would-be home fulfill its mission in teaching the Dharma, teaching true Dharma to all. He, the breath of the universe, is singing his own praise, and you are hearing that eternal song through things that will come to an end. He, the breath of the universe, is singing his own praise, and you are hearing that eternal song through things that will come to an end. The trees, the birds, the hills, and all are singing praises to the Lord. The banyan of Dakshineshwar sings of Kali, to be sure, and blessed is he who has ears to hear it. The banyan of Dakshineshwar sings of Kali, to be sure, and blessed is he who has ears to hear it. I was so glad to hear of the faith of Mrs. Waterman, she who thinks she has not lost her beloved, even after the fall of the body, has really attained to light. For the soul can never die, and when the body falls, I am glad to hear that it has strengthened her to hear of me. May she be able to help you, and may she be a help to your work. My love and blessings to Mrs. Mary Wright Sewell. My dear, love to you and blessings and prayers for your spiritual growth. You are indeed doing good work, but do not forget your Bengali, or I shall not be able to understand you when you come back. It gave me such delight to know that you are speaking of Dhruva, Savitri, Sitaram, and so on there. The accounts of their holy lives are better than all the vain talks of the world. I am sure the accounts of their holy lives are better than all the vain talks of the world, I am sure. Oh, how beautiful are the nature and doings of the Lord, your mother. So there's a good reason that the Swami chose this letter as the first letter. I mean, I just feel this because so many spiritual truths are told in it. So many great spiritual truths are told in it. So those of you who have the book, please just go over that letter and see what the mother was communicating to Nivedita. Nivedita, for those of you who don't know, means the offered one. This was a name given to her when he gave her monastic vows. Swami Vivekananda gave the name Nivedita, the offered one, meaning that she was offered to Mother India. Her life was being offered to Mother in India. And that's how she spent the rest of her life, working for Mother India. Even when she was back in the West, what she was doing was working for India, and particularly in raising money and interest in the work that she came back and did. So the mother really did call her her baby daughter. What is that in Bengali? Koki? Is that the word?
I thought it was Cookie. That's what
Cookie.
used to call her.
Cookie, yeah.
Yes.
Cookie. That's right. There's another instance in which a young disciple of Swami Vivekananda's, who lived near the Ridgely Manor in Stone Ridge, New York. There was a fancy dress ball in Stone Ridge for those people who were, it was a getaway place for people from New York. So there was this fancy dress ball and dinner and so on. And so Swami Vivekananda, his disciple, a young woman, was standing to the side of the dance floor after the dinner and looking on, and Swami Vivekananda came up behind her and whispered in her ear, "Don't let it fool you, Cookie." He also called her Cookie. Don't let it fool you, Cookie. Anything else from anyone? Okay. Written on 28 July 1910 in Bagbazar, Calcutta, to Sarah Bull, United States. Now, Sarah Bull was of immense help to Swami Vivekananda. Her husband was a very famous Norwegian violinist, Ole Bull, and they were wealthy. Not just from his earnings, I think there was other wealth in the families. But she was a tremendous help to Swami Vivekananda. And she came to India and met the mother and so on. So here's Holy Mother's letter to Sarah Bull. Mother, hearing that you are very ill, I am very anxious about you. I heard from our daughter Nivedita that you are a little better. I am praying to Thakur, the Lord, for your speedy recovery. Your recovery will cause me great joy. I have come here to Calcutta, and all my children here are well, except Yogin, who is not quite well, about which I am a little anxious and very, very sorry. This is Swami Yogananda, Jogin. She always called these fellows, and the women too, by their pre-monastic names. So Jogin did not live that much longer after this letter was written. I have offered on your behalf to the feet of Ramakrishna a tulsi and a bell leaf and 3
evenings,
sitting before him, I have prayed for you. Also, I want to know if Jaya, Josephine McLeod, uh, that was the name that Vivekananda gave Josephine McLeod. She was familiarly known to them all as Tantine, which means little aunt. She was part of the family. She was part of the Leggett family. I mean, Betty McLeod married Frank Leggett and became Betty Leggett. Josephine McLeod was her sister, and so and she also came to India, and she was also very instrumental in helping Swami Vivekananda in many, many ways. Also, I want to know if Jaya, Josephine McLeod, is going to you. Please give her my warm blessings, and do not forget Christine if you see her. Christine Grinstedel, something like that. I just remembered her exact name. She's another woman who was helpful to Vivekananda and went to India and met Mother. I am so sorry to hear that your daughter is not at present with you in this time of illness. And now from our Lord, I am sending you a flower and sandal dust, which I offered to him with worship. So in other words, the dust of some sandal paste. My deep love and blessings, you will realize. I love you very much and bless you from my heart. We are far away from you, but always feel as if you are quite near. Your Mother. Anything at all about that letter from anyone? All right. Sister Devamata, this was also very well known to Mother, and she was the one who helped. She was it may have been Mumbai, might have been Chennai. I don't remember. Anyway, in South India, with Swami Brahmananda at Christmas one time, and helped him celebrate Christmas. He wanted her to organize a Western style Christmas. And so she did the best she could. And during that Christmas celebration, during that Christmas Eve celebration and worship, which was done not in a tantric way, but in a Western way, which is the way we continue to do it here, very simple and Western. During that time, Swami Brahmananda actually experienced a long, about 30-minute conversation with the Christ. So Devamata was known to Mother and Brahmananda and to, of course, the others. Holy Mother wrote to Sister Devamata, again a name given by Vivekananda. Holy Mother wrote to Sister Devamata, an American disciple of Swami, that's right, she was a disciple of Swami Vivekananda's disciple, Paramananda. She wasn't directly Vivekananda's disciple. So Holy Mother wrote to Sister Devamata, an American disciple of Swami Paramananda, a few days after Devamata's arrival in Madras from the United States. This letter was written in Bengali and translated by Swami Ramakrishnananda. Date and location unknown. My dear Devamata, I am very glad to hear of your great devotion to my Lord. You are my daughter. May infinite devotion arise, may infinite devotion rise up in your heart. This is my blessing to you. For this I pray to my Lord. May you live long and along with all my other children. May you live long and along with my other children. May you remain merged in bliss eternal. I am doing well, your affectionate mother. Devamata visited Holy Mother in Calcutta and then returned to Madras and finally to the United States. She published the following extracts from Holy Mother's letters in her book, and Days in an Indian Monastery. This was the time in Madras that was spoken about, where she was with Brahmananda. Date and location unknown. My sweet daughter, your loving letters are duly at hand. Excuse me, please, not to answer you in time. I always remember you whenever I see the place you used to sit and meditate. Your loving form comes to my mind. All the inmates of this house always speak of you. I am glad to learn in your last letter that Swami Ramakrishnananda is feeling better. All well here. With my blessings, your most affectionate mother. Ramakrishnananda worked so hard there in Madras that he broke his health on more than one occasion. And on more than one occasion, at least one occasion, but I think more than one occasion, Mother actually requested him to come back to Bellarmont and spend some time away from that Madras work so that he could recover his health. Ramakrishnananda was a titan. He was one of the two that the master said had been a direct disciple of Christ. Date and location unknown. My sweet daughter, your letter of the 1st of November I received. I cannot tell you the joy I felt on receiving it. I have come here to Puri. I have come here to Puri for a change and will stay here for a month or two more. I hope you will write to me every now and then. I am feeling better now. I am glad to learn of the removal of the quarters of the Boston work and this. Oh yes, Paramananda had started a center in Boston, and Devamata was very involved in that. He started a center in Boston, and I think Cohasset, and one in a suburb of Los Angeles. The one in Los Angeles and the one in Cohasset still exist. The one in Boston has become part of the Ramakrishna order. So this is what she's referring to. I am glad to learn of the removal of the quarters of the Boston work and the spreading of the Lord's doctrine. The Lord's doctrine, progressively day by day. I always think of you, my sweet daughter. Hope you are quite well now. With my loving blessings, your loving mother. So, as a matter of fact, Paramananda wanted Devamata to become head of the organization that he had formed that had these three centers, the one in Southern California and near Los Angeles, and the one in Boston and Cohasset. And the order would not permit it. So though that organization left its relationship with the Ramakrishna order and continues to be, as I said, the Boston Center ultimately did come in under the responsibility of the Ramakrishna trustees, the Ramakrishna Mission trustees. The Cohasset and Ananda Ashrama, which is, as I said, near Los Angeles, continue to be a separate organization. Several attempts, including Swami Swahananda's, have been made to return them to the order. But because they're headed by nuns, there are swamis associated with them, their own swamis. But because they're headed by nuns, there continues to be a difficulty. Anybody else know anything they'd like to contribute about any of that? Okay. Date unknown, Bagbazar, Calcutta, India. My beloved daughter, your letter of August 16th received. I was thinking of you when the letter came to me, so you can easily guess how much joy it has given me. I am glad to get through. I'm glad to go through the part which gives the report of the work there. Please convey my love and blessings to Paramananda and to all the devotees there, both in Washington and in Boston. Now, they never did actually form a center in Washington. That continued to be a difficulty until Swami Swahananda took charge and formed one in 1995. It's very successful. It's in Silver Spring, Maryland. It continues to be a very successful center. But they were doing work in Washington, which of course was appropriate. It was the capital of the country. I am more glad to find you well again and doing Thakur's work with earnest zeal. And that was characteristic of Devamata. She was a very hard worker and had apparently a very pure and sincere heart. I am more glad to find you well again and doing Thakur's work with earnest zeal. I am indeed very happy to receive this news. I am feeling myself somewhat better now. Sardananda, Yoginma, Golapma, Satyakama,
Kusuma Devi,
Kusuma Devi,
Ganan,
yeah, okay, and
Nivedita,
and
and
Sudhira
Sudhira.
are all right. They often speak of you. Now, obviously, Nivedita had returned to India and started her work there. With my love and blessings to you, my beloved daughter, your affectionate mother. Okay, it's a little after 9 o'clock. This being the last class until, I think, September 7th. Anything anyone would like to contribute from their own experience or wisdom, from their own concerns and issues, or anything that you'd like to ask for clarification?
Actually, I remember that, all these three, Sister Nivedita and Sarabu, and who is the other one? All the three went to the Himalayas with Vivekananda to see the Lord Shiva at what do you call that? There is a famous.
Yes, Kailash.
Okay.
I think it was Kailash. Yeah, I don't remember who the third one was either. Maybe it was Mrs. Grinstedel. But it wasn't Josephine MacLeod and it wasn't Devamata.
Actually, all three of them had a picture with the mother.
Yes. Yes. Oh, yes, that's one of the treasured pictures.
Yes.
Thank you, Bala. Anything else from anyone?
Namaste, Brother Shankara and everybody.
Yes.
It's a wonderful class. The letters, they take your mind all the way back 100 years ago, how things should have been and how the order started and how Mother guided all.
Yes.
And it's so wonderful how much planning went, and there was how much Mother's contribution in guiding all these people, all these great souls.
Yes. Including Vivekananda.
Yeah. It's amazing.
No, it is amazing, and but it's when you think that by both the representation of Sri Ramakrishna and Holy Mother, they were one being, Ishwar. They were one being in two forms. So this is, he left the body in 1886 and left her as has been explained in this book, left her behind to do the heavy lifting. And his body just wasn't up to it because of his sadhana. He was the one who did the sadhana for the two of them. And of course, it left his body extremely frail. So it isn't like he didn't want to do any heavy lifting. It's just that his body wasn't capable. And he had taken on the karma of so many souls, including Girish Ghosh.
Correct.
It's a wonder that he was lived as long as he did. Thank you, Shailesh. Anything else from you or anyone else?
Brother Shankara,
Yes, dear.
her love for her disciples just absolutely overflows in those letters. And also her expansiveness becomes all the more awe-inspiring when we transport ourselves mentally to that time.
Yes.
She must have faced so much resistance, and yet she just accepted and just poured out knowledge and love and everything. That now we kind of see her as an altar, and it doesn't seem so. I'm like blanking out on the word, but if I transport myself back to that time, it's just incomprehensible.
Well, it is, because as Holy Mother said, and Thakur said, but Holy Mother made it even more explicit, that when these divine beings take on human form, they take on all of the abilities, but also all of the liabilities of being human. And so this is, the frailties, the illnesses, the emotional nature, all of that. But as you said, Swayam, so nicely, Mother just overwhelms us with her compassion, her genuine interest in what's going on, her support of it. I mean, many of these things were going on half a world away. Mother had lots to occupy her attention right under her feet. The Yoga Maya that was keeping her there, Radu and Radu's mother and all of that business, all that craziness. And innumerable disciples. And as you said, resistance. There was resistance. So that was the upside of the fact that there was a cage. She said she felt caged at the Udbodhan house. But on the other hand, the bars of the cage, so to speak, somewhat protected her from too much negative energy being visited on her. Although we heard that in that subhead obstinate disciples, she sometimes had some real cases come to her there and in Jairavati. Anything else at all? All right. From the Chandi. All mythologies and scriptures are your aspects, O Devi. So are all women in the world, with their various attributes. By you alone, the world is filled. All mythologies and scriptures are your aspects, O Devi. So are all women in the world, with their various attributes. By you alone, the world is filled. So, with that thought, O dearly beloved Mother, a flower at your feet for each one who comes to your open door. A flower at your feet for each one who stands by your open door and says, come to me, offering to break this world's chain that binds us down to ignorance, suffering, and death. A flower at your feet for each one who takes the path that you have struck through this, your jungle world. Om, Amen. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace. Peace be unto us and to all beings everywhere. Jai Shri Guru Maharaj Ji Ki Jai, Durga, Durga, Durga. May you be safe. May you be healthy. May you be cheerful. May you have peace of mind. May you go forward in the Mother's loving and protective embrace. So we'll have all the rest of the classes for this week, or I guess there's only 2 more. Tomorrow night, Jnana Yoga, and Saturday, Realizing God. So those 2 classes will take place, and then we'll be quiet for the month of August. All right, dears.
All right, Brother Shankara, take care.
Thank you.
Thank you, dears.
Hari Om. Thank you.
Hari Om. Good night.
Good night.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.